Hi, I just thought I'd take a moment and kind of go over this week's theme. I know a lot of times in my sessions with you, I might mention, oh, that's really interesting. That's the theme this week. And it's a thing. This week has been about transition periods and um, going, I call it like going into the void, and just how disorienting and like not comfortable that zone is. It's we go in. I'm going to call it the void, but we go into that void multiple times throughout our lives, and it's part. And we definitely go into it as we start to grow and transform and change. And the purpose of it is it's almost like when we go into this, it's a transition period. Some old things have to die. And I know you've heard this, but if you can really kind of feel this, some old things have to die. But what's coming isn't really solidified, hasn't taken form. You don't know yet. Like I don't, we are clingy and kind of clamoring and anxious to know, to have some sure footing, to have some grounding into something more sure. But that's just part of the void. Is it hasn't quite taken shape yet. And so one of the things we can do is just to know that you're in it. So you can kind of tell yourself, okay, I'm in the void. And it lasts for different lengths of time depending on what you're going through. But usually it's like a day or two. Um, or up to a week that you might be in like that state if it's related to any particular issue or kind of in spiritual work they call it an ascension. It's when it's a big leap of growth. And so just knowing you're in it is huge, because you can tell yourself, okay, I'm in the void now. This feels uncomfortable. My mind is grasping and reaching for certainty, yet no certainty is there. I can't find certainty. And that makes me feel anxious and frustrated and all the things. But so what can I do? Right? We're grasping for some sense of certainty, for some sense of control, and there's really none when you're in it. And so what we can do is know we're in it, and then once we recognize we're in it, it's really it, right? The answer always goes back to self-care. Take care of yourself. Do what you feel like doing in that moment. Um, Whether that's, I feel like pushing forward, I feel like pulling back, I feel like, and knowing you will reemerge. Like there is a dawn to that. You will reemerge. And I think one of the things that we can work on as well when we're in that space is tuning inwards, and kind of that's also been another theme, is tuning into that part of ourselves, that wise part of ourselves. We're always up in our heads, and when we can breathe down out of our heads and into our bodies, into our guts, into our bones, um, there's wisdom there. Oftentimes when we do that, we bounce right back up into our heads, and it's because we are afraid of what we might know. We are afraid of what we might learn. I might discover something, or become aware of information that is going to require me to take action, and things will be different, and the different might not be as good. And even if it is good or better, um, it's unknown and not comfortable, and it would require me to disappoint a lot of people or whatever. And so just kind of knowing that there's nothing in your inner self, tuning into your inner voice, finding the peace within. There's nothing in there that you don't already know. You're not going to find out anything that you aren't already aware of on some level, on a pretty conscious level. It's kind of like letting the cat out of the bag at the word. Like, the cat's in the bag, and the cat is like all over the place, but you let the cat out of the bag. And so any answers that you do get within, sometimes I really say, like, I don't want that to be the answer. I don't want that to be the answer. Like, but I already knew it, right? I already knew it. And I always talk about the ugly truth and getting to the ugly truth. And sometimes the ugly truth just needs to hit air, but sometimes, it can be an inconvenient truth. This is highly inconvenient for me to know. And that's what we're afraid of. But the good news is we have a choice. It's always good to listen to your body, to your inner voice, because it is the cat in the bag. It will um, wreak havoc until you listen to it, until you say, what, body, what? Um, but then once you discover the truth that it has to tell you, it's nothing you don't know, and you have choice. If it is a change that you need to make, it doesn't have to be a big change, like your life is going to implode and let's just reorder and rearrange everything. Sometimes that happens, but usually we knew it was going there. So a fear people often have is, I'm afraid I'm going to find out I don't love my husband and I want to leave him. Well, if that's what you're coming to, I can guarantee you've already been working that out within yourself. That is not something that just comes up out of the blue. You've already thought about it 100,000 times. You might have pushed it down low, but it's not anything that you aren't already aware of. And then say that is the truth. Okay. That's, yeah, like I don't want to be in this marriage anymore. Like I feel trapped, whatever. That doesn't mean you have to do anything right now. It just means it just sometimes is good to be aware. Okay, now I can choose. I can choose. I can make small choices. I can make it a little bit better, a little bit better. And then as we go, where we end up is way different than here. Here would have been just miserable, and here's a little bit better, and then down here is if I'd really gone for it and made everything blow up. But usually when I've seen that, it's because the person was so miserable in their situation that things had to change, whether that was a job or a relationship or a living location or whatever it was. They were so miserable. They knew they were miserable. They weren't really admitting it to themselves. But once they started growing and started listening, they paid attention then, and it's always for the better. That's just been my experience. So, okay. So the void is a transition period where we're letting go of things, and we're not really consciously doing the work in the void. The work is being done within us in the transition period. We do have to make choices, and we'll know when we have to make choices, but we just kind of have to ride it and breathe and take care of ourselves and know that there'll be a day very soon where, okay, now I feel inspired and I want to take action and I know what I'm going to do. And it's okay not to know until you do. I've been in that space before where I'm frustrated because I want the answers and I know the answers are within me, but I can't grasp them. And then, fast forward a couple of weeks and it's like I have this huge aha moment. Now it makes sense, but I didn't have that information then. I didn't have this information, this crucial piece of information that I needed in order to make this decision. I didn't have it then. And that's why the answers weren't grasping. So if you can't grasp the answers, that doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. And it doesn't mean like, there is no answer or I'm doing it wrong or I can't get to it. It might just mean I don't know yet. And it's okay. It's okay to not know yet. It's okay to see how it plays out. It's extremely uncomfortable sometimes, but hopefully just knowing that it's a thing everyone goes through, and that you can go through it quicker the more you recognize you're in it, take care of yourself, kind of breathe and don't resist, go through it, breathe and don't resist, breathe and don't resist, go through it, and then all of a sudden things shift and ideas will pop into your head, or you'll just be certain of what you want to do or the direction you want to go. It'll be a knowing, or you'll have an idea, or you'll just be at peace with everything. But there's a fuzzy period from not knowing to knowing. So your ability to recognize that and to navigate it and just be in it and not resist and allow will make a huge difference. Let me know what you think.